Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Johnny TCG video. I'm Johnny TCG. I'm happy to see you here today. Today, we're talking about the one, the only OP07 Jewelry Bonney. You might be saying to yourself, Johnny, didn't you just do a video on Jewelry Bonney? And the answer to that is yes. I hope you watched it. I think it was a very informative video. We talked about the deck list for a bit. We played some games on the sim. I think it's still a very good video, but I just wanted to give a little bit of an update and how I've changed the deck list so far in the OP10 meta. There was a lot of conversation in the beginning of OP10 about what the top end should look like for Bonney. How is Bonney going to fit into the meta? Of course, with Blackbeard looming, a lot of our top end does get nullified, which feels pretty bad, you know? So I shifted more towards Zoro. I really like this card, especially in the Blackbeard matchup. Basically, in every matchup, if you can get him to stick to the board, you're gonna win. Unfortunately, though, he's not always the most reliable. You have to use 9 Don to play him out and hope that you stay alive until you can fully maximize his ability, which is not always the case. So I reevaluated my previous deck list. As you can see in the top left corner of my screen, this is 10 Bond 2. This is my second deck list I've been working with. The big changes for the deck list is simply just adding 2 of these 9 cost 11,000 power Shanks from the recent Uta starter deck. I actually don't know if you can consider that starter deck recent anymore, but I'm gonna say it's recent. 9 cost 11,000 power on play, KO up to one of your opponent's rested characters. No restriction on that, just make sure they're rested. No restriction there, just if they're rested, you can pop them. That is amazing, especially in the Shanks matchup. This is something I've heard a lot of people say on Twitter, on YouTube videos. Just this is necessary to make the Shanks matchup that is already Shanks favored a little bit more manageable for Bonney. And so, of course, I'm going to hear him out. And so far in my testing, I do like this better than the previous deck I was using. Now you might be asking yourself, Johnny, what did you cut out to make room for this Shanks? And yes, it's pretty simple. I went down to 1 Zoro just because it seemed like a lot of people in the meta are shifting away from Zoro. It's very like hit or miss with him sometimes. So we went down 1 Zoro, and then I also went down 1 Carrot. Do not get me wrong, Carrot is a really strong card. I don't think you're crazy if you play her at 4, but I just felt for myself I could get away with only running 3 Carrots, and so far so good. I really like it at 3. Of course, I'd run 4 if I had room in the deck, but simply I do not. So yeah, we cut out a Carrot, we cut out a Zoro, and now we've got 2 of the epic 9 cost Shanks. I love this card, and yeah, I'm happy to have him back in my deck. I was running him in OP09, so it feels good to have him back. Before we get into the gameplay, of course, we have a giveaway for you today. Today, we're going to be giving away a custom Jewelry Bonney Leader using art from the One Piece Treasure Cruise game. I am not the artist. I am not selling this. This is just a fun, personal fan project. All you have to do to enter this giveaway to win, boom, that custom card. All you have to do is 1, leave a like, and 2, leave a comment. It's as simple as that. And if this video gets 20 likes in the first 24 hours, I'll randomly choose a US-based commenter and send it to you completely free. That's all you have to do. And if you're feeling inclined, if you're feeling the love today, consider hitting that subscribe button. It means the world to me. It helps the channel out, and we are approaching 2,000 subscribers, which is pretty crazy if you ask me. Now, with that being said, let's get into the games, and then stick around if you want to hear me talk about them afterwards. Editor, roll the gameplay. Our first game up is going to be against a blue-purple Reiju from OP06. I really have no idea how this game was going to go. Reiju, of course, isn't a tier 1 leader, but I really do think that when Reiju draws well, it's just like almost unstoppable. If they see their EGGs early, you're just going to be in for a rough time. They're going to start off using Stage and drawing the Vinsmoke Reiju from OP06. We are on the even curve. We'll start with the Jewelry Bonney 1 cost Searcher, and we are going to take that Cavendish. Establishing that Cavendish will be very nice in this matchup. I do think it would be pretty easy to remove if I don't have any blockers with it, especially with their EGG shenanigans, but hopefully we can get it out and establish it and keep it on the board until we play our Eustace Captain Kidd 8-drop. I think that is going to be the card that could hopefully win us the game, just because they usually don't play any big bodies. That'll make it easy for them to get rid of the Eustace Captain Kidd. They'll swing into the Jewelry Bonney Searcher, of course, and we'll let that go. Play down the Vinsmoke Reiju, the smaller 2-cost one, then cheat out the 4-cost one. They still have 1 Don up, which they used to play another stage over their other stage. I'm not really sure why they did that. Maybe that's just to keep their hand size low, perhaps, so they can use another Reiju. Maybe. I don't know. I don't have a good turn 2 play. I'm just going to swing 8,000 into life and then pass it back to them with 1 Don up. They will take that 8,000 power swing into their life, and then I'll pass it back to them. They're going to be at 4 Don. They're going to start by trashing a 4-cost Reiju with Stage. Then they're going to draw a Vinsmoke Sanji from OP10. I believe that's the new 1-cost Searcher. Pretty solid. They'll swing 5,000 with their leader into our life, which we are definitely going to use leader ability to rest their Reiju and then take the life. We do get the 5-cost Smoker, which I think we prefer establishing the Cavendish on our next turn, but that 5-cost Smoker is so good in this deck. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, I really need to get a couple copies of that in real life because alas, I did not pull any in my pre-release packs. Now they're going to play the 3-cost Porsche, cheat out a 3-cost Black Maria, which will help them stay up with Don, and then also play out that 1-cost Vinsmoke Sanji to do a search. They're going to find a Ichiji, which is not amazing. They'll have to return Don because of Black Maria's ability, and they'll pass it back to us for 6 Don to work with. It's definitely going to be a Cavendish turn. That Smoker is tempting, but establishing the Cavendish this turn makes our Eustace Captain Kidd turn next turn much better. We're going to swing 7,000 into the Reiju after playing the Cavendish. They could counter out of this. They do have a ton of cards in hand, 7 if I count correctly, and that yes, they will counter out of that. We'll pass it back to them. They do have a pretty wide board right now, but not super threatening. We've got a Don up for our leader ability. I would love to draw in to a small blocker to play with our Eustace Captain Kidd, maybe from life, maybe from our deck. Either way, I'll be happy to find something like a Rosinante or the Bartolomeo blocker. They are going to use Stage. They find a Sanji, a promo Sanji actually, and then swing with their Reiju character first into our leader. Of course, we will use leader ability and we're going to rest their Porsche. Now 5,000, I am thinking about countering out of this just because if they play like an Ichiji, for example, I'm not going to want to counter out of those swings. So I'm going to give up some counter here. Maybe I don't need to. Maybe that's me being a little bit dramatic, but they could really pressure my life this turn. And if they do that, I want to at least counter out of 1 or 2 attacks. They're going to play down the Ichiji. They're going to play down a 2-cost Tony Chopper blocker. Swing 5,000 now with their leader into our leader. I'm really tempted to counter out of this, but I think it just makes sense to take it and save that counter for when we establish the Eustace Captain Kidd. We get a 10-cost Dofi, which will be really strong in this matchup, and then we also get a 2k counter with Scratch Manapoo. We unfortunately do not have any blockers to play out with the Eustace Captain Kidd, but we might be alright. We'll start by trying to clear their board a little bit. We are going to swing with the Cavendish, swing with our leader next. We still have 2 Don up, but one of those Don are going to go to our Eustace Captain Kidd to set up his ability with. 5,000 into the porch. They are really debating this. They do decide to give us the counter, and it was a 2k counter, which is great for us. We're happy to get a 2k counter out of hand when they did not need to. I am going to rest our Eustace Captain Kidd, not play anything out. I don't really think the Scratch Manapoo that has the Don ×1 when attacking is really important here, so we'll pass it back to them. They've got a ton of Don to work with. They do have a full board, and this is definitely a situation in which it is possible they clear my Eustace Captain Kidd, which would be really unfortunate. As long as we keep the Cavendish on the field, though, I think we're going to be all right. Next turn, we'll be able to establish the 10-cost Doflamingo. We could play another 8-cost Eustace Captain Kidd, which I imagine would be very frustrating for them. I really like where we're at right now. I mean, we could definitely be in a better situation, but we definitely could be in a worse situation. So right now, I think we're doing pretty well. They are kind of going to do what I feared. They are going to throw all their Don on Ichiji and swing 15,000 into our Eustace Captain Kidd. It is a little bit ridiculous, but can I actually counter out of this? I've got 5 2Ks in my hand, which is absolutely ridiculous. Is it worth me giving up a couple of 2Ks here? I mean, more than a couple, probably 4, I guess. But I think it might be worth it. Next turn, we're going to be able to establish a 10-cost Doflamingo, which would be really strong. We could also establish another Eustace Captain Kidd to be absolutely ridiculous and really set up a wall. They are going to use Black Maria's ability, return Don. They can't do anything else with the rest of their characters. We did rest their Black Maria with our leader ability last turn, so now we'll start off by swinging 5,000 into it with our leader. I imagine they'll let this go. They could have also blocked with Chopper, but they probably want to keep this Ichiji on the board. We're going to swing 8,000 with Eustace Captain Kidd into their Ichiji here. I'm not exactly sure which card I want to develop. Unfortunately, this 10-cost Dofi won't get a ton of value because the only character we're going to be freezing will be their Ichiji. I think we're just going to go with another 8-cost Eustace Captain Kidd. We don't have a ton of counter in hand, which feels bad, but there's no way they'll be able to remove 2 of these in one turn. I shouldn't speak so soon, though. Who knows what's going to happen for the rest of this game. We will give a Don to our Cavendish and swing 7,000 into there. Ichiji really trying to get this off the board, even though they do have a blocker and they could also bring it back from the trash. Swinging into it doesn't always feel amazing. We're going to give it Don to our Eustace Captain Kid, both of them actually, and then rest the one we just played. We're not going to throw anything out there. The the Tashigi that looks like Smoker from OP10 could be helpful, but I don't think they run anything that would make the Tashigi's effect really worth it. They're going to start off by playing the Porsche. They'll find a Tony Chopper and then play out a Vinsmoke Ichiji, the 4-cost one. They'll be able to cheat out another 7-cost Ichiji with that 4-cost Ichiji's ability. Either way, though, we are still in a very good position. I don't have a ton of counter in hand. I only have 2 2Ks, but I do have some big bodies. This Cavendish is definitely going to be safe. I mean, most likely. They have another 4-cost Ichiji, which is a little bit awkward. They're going to play out one 7-cost Ichiji. They're going to be able to play another 7-cost Ichiji. They're definitely going to remove at least one Eustace Captain Kid here, but there's no way they're going to be able to remove 2, right? I think there's no way. We hope so. They'll start with an 8,000 power swing with their first Ichiji into the 4,000 power Eustace Captain Kid. Of course, we're going to have to let this go, and then we'll use leader ability to rest their second Ichiji. Now, you could consider that a misplay because they weren't able to swing with that other Ichiji, but they were able to get that ability of minus 2,000 off, and I think that is what they intended, which was most important. They'll take our first 5,000 power swing with our leader into their leader. Now we're going to swing 8,000 into their life. They will block that with the Tony Chopper. Here, we're just all about putting pressure on their life. Of course, we could establish that Doflamingo again, but we wouldn't get a ton of value. We're going to instead play out a 9-cost 11,000 power Shanks to KO their Ichiji. Now swing 7,000 with our Cavendish into their life. They will block that. And I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I feel like we are really in a dominating position right now. Of course, we don't have a ton of counter in our hand, so our Eustace Captain Kid could die this turn, but I think overall we're still in a pretty good spot. They'll start with a 1-cost Sanji Searcher. They will find a Vinsmoke Judge, which they can play out and do the Power Ranger combo, where they basically just play out all of the rest of the Germa characters. They're going to play out an Ichiji. They're going to play out the Reiju. They are not... Do they have any others to play out? Or maybe they won't. I don't know, folks, you tell me. I'm not exactly sure how Reiju runs as a deck. I've never played Reiju. They're only going to play out Reiju and the Ichiji. They're going to minus 1,000 power or 2,000 power from Eustace Captain Kid, swing 7,000 into it, and we will be able to counter that. Now they're going to swing 6,000 into it with their leader. We can counter that as well. And here, this might be GG's. We could really just pressure them down here. We'll start with 8,000 from our Eustace Captain Kid into their life. Then we're going to do 5,000 with our leader. I imagine they'll counter that. Now we'll swing 11,000 with our Shanks. If they can get out of this, maybe we don't go for game. I think we still go for game. We can swing 7,000 with our Cavendish and then play down the Hody Jones just to finish off the job. I think the right move here is just to swing 7,000 first with our Cavendish. Not getting Cavendish's ability to restand Don is not really that big of an issue. 7,000 now. I don't even think there's any triggers that could save them. We'll play down the Hody Jones, rest 2 of their characters, and that will be good game. That one was really fun, and yeah, Reiju is really a sleeper deck. That Judge play can be really dangerous. They were only able to establish 2 characters, but hypothetically, they could have flooded the board, and next turn would have been a little bit rough for us. Alright, on to the next one. Next up, we've got a game against another mixed purple leader, this time Nico Robin from OP10. We are on the odd curve, which I think is the move against Nico Robin. To me, it honestly feels like the move in most matchups, just because establishing Cavendish or Smoker on curve is absolutely deadly. 3 Don to work with. We're just going to throw 2 Don on our leader, swing 7,000 into their life. I imagine they'll take this, unless they want to give me 2 cards, which of course I would be perfectly happy with. They will take that, go down to 3 life. Nico Robin can be an awkward deck to play against, just because if you put them to 2 life or lower, they can start healing with Ace or Yamato, depending on what kind of deck list they run. They're going to start off with a 6,000 power swing, which I will take. It was tempting to counter out of, but I think I'd rather keep those 2k counters for later on in the game. They are going to use their leader ability to ramp, play out the Jaguar D-Saw blocker. We'll swing 5,000 at them, and they will counter out of that. Now, we'll play down Cavendish, get to restand 2 Don as active. There is a chance they have the Egghead Nami, which feels very bad. If they do play that card, they'll be able to pop our Cavendish, and that will just, oh my god. I hate that play. I hate when our Cavendish gets removed right away. We'll see what they do though. They do have 7 down to work with already. They're going to be able to play down that 6 cost Nico Robin, and then they're not going to swing with their leader ability. I wonder if that was intentional or not, ladies and gentlemen. Was that an intentional play? I guess it doesn't really matter if they have a 9 down play going next turn, just because they don't want to trash a card from their hand. But of course, they could have just swung 5,000 at us. So I'm interested to see or understand why maybe they did not use leader ability there. My thought is that they have another 6 cost Nico Robin to play next turn. I don't necessarily know if that's the best play, but hey, we'll keep it moving. 7 down for us to work with. No great plays at all. We could play down the Hody Jones, which could pressure their board a little bit. I think playing down Hody Jones is the move here. We're actually going to go with the TCG just because we really want to keep this Cavendish on the board. We're going to have 6 down to work with now after using Cavendish's ability. I'm thinking maybe we also play down the Rosinante just to ensure that that Cavendish stays on the board for next turn. We'll swing 8,000 now with our leader into their leader. They do have a Don up. They will block that with Jaguar de Sol. And then we'll play down the Rosinante and pass it back to them. 1 Don up for us to use our leader ability here. 9 down for them to work with. I think we're in a pretty decent position. Our hand size isn't really amazing. We don't have a ton of counter. We've got the 8 cost Useless Captain Kid to play next turn, but yeah, I wouldn't say we're in an amazing position right now. They are going to start with a 7,000 power swing into our leader with their leader. I think we should take this, even though it feels really bad for us to get rid of a card from our life. We really need some more cards in our hand. So yeah, Nico Robin, Banish, Leader Swing is so strong. They won't have a big body to play this turn, just the Jaguar de Sol and then the 4 cost Kikunojo. That is unfortunate for them. I feel like them establishing a bigger body there would have been very helpful. This Kikunojo is not going to be super helpful in getting rid of our useless Captain Kid. We do have the 3 cost Bartolomeo, which we just drew into, which is going to be so helpful in keeping this useless Captain Kid alive. We're going to swing now 6,000 with Cavendish into their rested Nico Robin. They will let that go. Great news for us. Now we're going to be able to swing 6,000 with our leader into their life. I wouldn't be surprised if they block this or they do take it. Is their trigger moment of truth, ladies and gentlemen. Drum roll, please. I don't know if you can even hear that. That was me banging on the desk. If that sounded stupid, if my drum roll on the desk sounded stupid, I am so sorry, ladies and gentlemen. They will get the Charlotte Cracker trigger, trashing a card from their hand, Buzzcut Mochi, but that is honestly perfectly fine. Again, we are not really too worried about those smaller bodies getting rid of our useless Captain Kid. We have the Rosinante. They're going to play down the Kaido Linlin for 10 Don, which is absolutely crazy. But alas, I think we can honestly go for game here. We can start with a 5,000 power poke with our leader. If they do not use their blocker here, I think we're in a great position to drop the Hody Jones. They do let that swing go through, and now we're just going to play out our Hody, rest their blocker, rest their Kaido Linlin, but it doesn't matter. We're just going to be able to swing into their life, and I feel like there's no way we do not get the W here. I mean, maybe they do have some crazy triggers. They're going to be able to counter out of our 7,000 power swing with our Cavendish. Now I'm like, oh geez, 8,000 now with the Hody Jones. We did not need to swing with the 8,000 with Hody Jones, but I guess it doesn't really matter. We can swing with our Tashigi, 7,000 now. They will be able to block this, and that's what they're going to do. Then we can swing with our Useless Captain Kid and get the job done. I definitely didn't do the math ideal at the end, but GG's nonetheless. We're going to go into our next game against the Red Zoro. Nico Robin, OP10, very strong leader, but there's a reason she probably isn't tier 1. That game was a little bit awkward for them. Maybe they just didn't draw amazing. Not sure. They are going to be playing the Animal Zoro. It looks like they draw the Shut Up and Come With Us. We are going to pass it back to them on 3 Don, not swing, so they can't use that Shut Up and Come With Us event that lets them cheat out an animal character. I think that's the move early in the game. If you don't really have an answer to them developing another character, let me know what you think about that strategy in the comments down below. I swung into a Zoro once, and then they played out like 2 animal characters. When I did that, I didn't have any answers, and I felt like a fool. So now I'm kind of hesitant to swing into them early game when they have a Don up. They're going to start off with a 5,000 power leader swing, which we can just use our leader ability here, rest the Dr. Kureha. We will find the 1 cost jewelry Bonney Searcher out of our life, which is pretty solid, I guess. We've got a lot of 2Ks in our hand, which is good news, and Bonney, I think overall has a relatively okay matchup into Zoro. So we're not stressing too much yet. They are able to establish another animal character with that 3-cost Tony Chopper that is very strong. We're going to play down the Cavendish, give 1 Don to our leader, debating on whether or not to swing 6,000 into this Robson. We are going to swing 6,000 into it. They do have that Don up for Shut Up and Come With Us. They are not going to use it though, and we are just going to KO the Robson, which is great for us. Passing it back to them, they've got 6 Don to work with. And let me tell you, Zoro can do a lot with 6 Don. They're going to start off by giving their leader 1 Don, swing 6,000 at us with that 3-cost Tony Chopper, 6,000 into our life. They're able to play out another Tony Chopper using that Chopper's ability. It really is awesome for us to be able to rest their Zoro. They had to put a Don on it. Of course, they still get value from it, but as long as we have a Don up basically every turn, we can get out of a 6,000 power swing for free. We will take this hit, and we do get the Hody Jones, which I don't think is going to be super helpful in this matchup. Maybe when we're going for game, but I think we'd rather have a card with counter or a 5-cost carrot. I find the 5-cost carrot to be super strong in this matchup. 7,000 at us now with a Rush Zoro, and we'll take that. That is good news for us. We get the Rosinante blocker out of our life, which will be great to pair with the Eustace Captain Kid. And then, of course, we do also get that 5-cost carrot from the top of our deck. That was divine intervention, folks. I spoke it into existence. We're going to play down the carrot, freezing their 3-cost Chopper, swinging 6,000 into their Zoro with our Cavendish. We can give 1 Don to our leader, swing another 6,000 into that Zoro. They're going to have to give us a 2K or 2 1Ks. They do have the Shut Up and Come With Us to get out the 3-cost Chopper blocker from EB01. I wonder if that card is still pretty expensive. Last time I checked it was. They'll let that Zoro go. We'll play down the 2-cost Rosinante blocker and pass it back to them. We really want to keep this Cavendish alive this turn. The question is, are they even going to bother swinging into it? They're going to start off right away with a 1-cost Nami Searcher, finding in OP08 Tony Chopper. They'll play the Tony Chopper, cheat out a Hiking Bear, I believe that is, over the Nami. Nothing too crazy there, just establishing a menacing board. They have 4 Don left to still work with, and this turn is actually not going to be crazy pressure from them. They're then going to swing big into our Cavendish with their 3-cost EB01 Chopper. They can minus the power of Cavendish by 3,000, which is so strong. We are going to block out of this with Rosinante and then do our best to keep this Cavendish alive. They're going to swing 6,000 into it now with their other Chopper, and we will give them the 2Ks to keep it alive. Now we're going to be able to establish the Eustace Captain Kid and sit behind that. And after this, I think we're just going to be in such a great spot, folks. We're going to play down the Eustace Captain Kid, swing 6,000 into the Hiking Bear, just getting whatever I can guarantee off the board. We have 3 Don left to work with right now. The Carrot, we're going to be able to swing 6,000 into one of their characters, and then of course we are going to be able to freeze one of their characters, which is so strong. It doesn't really matter which one I freeze. I actually think I should have swung 7,000 into the Chopper I froze and then froze that other 3-cost Chopper. They are going to let it go though, which is good news. We'll swing 5,000 into their rested 3-cost Chopper, the OP04 Chopper, I believe that is, and then they will counter out of that. We'll pass it back to them, 1 Don up, a couple of 2K counters in hand, a couple to say the least. We've got 3 2Ks and a 1K, which is very strong. I think we're going to be in a great position. We still have not taken a single life card of theirs, but that is perfectly fine. We're getting their hand down pretty low. They're going to have to invest a lot of Don to get rid of this Eustace Captain Kid, most likely. Maybe they run a Divine Departure, though, and that would get rid of that Eustace Captain Kid right away. Next turn, we could be crazy and even play down that 9-cost Zoro, depending where we're at with things. We also, if we keep this Jewelry Bonney 1-cost Searcher in our hand, can use that to find additional cards like the 3-cost Bartolomeo. That'll help us keep this kid alive, if it stays alive, of course. 10 Don for them to work with. They're going to start off by giving their leader 1 Don, giving plus 1,000 to all of their characters. 10,000 now into our Eustace Captain Kid with their 1 Chopper that cheats out another Chopper. It is a mouthful to keep saying Chopper. Feels like every single card in their deck is a Chopper. We're going to use leader ability to rest their leader, and then we are definitely going to 2K out of this. We are going to give them the 2K, 1K with the 1-cost Jewelry Bonney Searcher. Again, Zoro, it really does, I think at least my own personal opinion, makes sense to use the right counter math every single time, just because every counter really counts against this deck that can be so aggressive. Now another 10,000 power swing into the Eustace Captain Kid, and we are lucky to have the 2Ks to keep ourselves alive. That really just kind of, I don't know, saves us there. If they're able to remove the Eustace Captain Kid, we are definitely in trouble here. They are not, though. We're going to swing Cavendish into their rested chopper. I mean, all their choppers are rested, I guess. Swing 6,000 into another one with carrot. These are getting cleared off the board, folks, which is a great feeling. We're going to swing 6,000 into the other one. And then with our Eustace Captain Kid, we're going to swing into their life instead of the other rested chopper, just because we used carrot's ability. We don't have any counter in hand, so this Eustace Captain Kid may get removed. Likely get removed this turn. I think it's a mistake if they don't try to remove it. We do not have a single 1k of counter. They are going to play down the 8-cost Dragon, which is the perfect card to get rid of this Eustace Captain Kid. But we have leader ability, so we'll be able to rest their Zoro after they swing with this Dragon, which will prevent any of our other characters from being removed this turn. 13,000 now at our Eustace Captain Kid, and I'm gonna let him go. RIP Kid, you knew your role and you played it well. We do draw the 2-cost Rosinante, which will be very helpful, at least giving us a little bit of peace of mind that we have one blocker out on the field. We're gonna start with a 6,000 power swing from our carrot into their life. We're gonna be able to freeze that Tony chopper. They are not gonna get any value from that chopper as long as that carrot is still on the board. Now we're gonna swing into their Dragon. We definitely should have swung with our Zoro into their Dragon first before we swung into their life, just because they took that life and now hypothetically have another card to counter with. The question is, though, if they counter to keep this Dragon alive, they're going to have to basically give us all the cards in their hand, because we'll be able to keep swinging with our Zoro. They're going to let the Dragon go, and we are in the driver's seat here. Now 5,000 into their life. No need to be crazy with our Don, just because we are really in such a good spot. Now we're going to play down the Smoker, really just setting us up to win next turn, most likely. 6,000 now into their life. They will counter out of that. We can swing again with our Zoro and then play down the Rosinante. 12,000 into 5,000. We are not going to be able to win this turn, but that is perfectly fine. We're going to establish our Rosinante and then pass it back to them. We are in such a good position, folks. Absolutely ridiculous how kind of dominating position we're in right now, and no fault to the other player. I think that our draws have just been amazing. Those counter cards really came in handy for the Eustace Captain Kid. I think in most Bonney matchups, the Eustace Captain Kid 8-drop is just most important. A lot of decks, especially ones that play low to the ground, cannot deal with it in a very easily manner. Especially Red Zoro, if they don't run, I believe it's called Jet Mulgun or Divine Departure. I think with those two events, it can be much easier to get rid of Kid, but alas, they did not see it. They're going to swing 8,000 now with their leader into Cavendish. I don't really think it matters whether or not we keep this Cavendish alive right now. Of course, as long as we've got Zoro, we probably win next turn, so we'll just let the Cavendish go. We could also block with Rosinante, but I think just as a last-ditch safety measure, we'll keep that Rosinante standing up. We also have that Smoker next turn, which is going to be awesome. 8,000 into our carrot with the Killer. And this one is actually more tempting to keep alive, but we will still let that go too. Killer is a very strong card, especially late in the game with Zoro, and now they have another Zoro. 6,000 at our life. We're fine to take this. That was actually kind of crazy, being able to swing with 2 rushers. Now we're going to start with a 7,000 power swing with our Smoker, Banish. They are going to have the cards for it. We could have swung more, but it really doesn't matter, folks. We can just swing 9,000. A couple of times with our Zoro, this actually could have gotten really awkward if they had a Gum Gum Red Hawk trigger. That gives minus 10,000 power to one of your opponent's characters or leader, and they would have been able to really destroy my Zoro. But again, alas, they do not. We're going to be able to swing again with our Zoro, and that is game. GG's. Ladies and gentlemen, those are the games I got for you today. I would have loved to have some more varied games. Of course, Reiju and Nico Robin aren't the most meta relevant, but I still wanted to show off this deck list and show you how strong it can be. Of course, Blackbeard is still going to be a very difficult matchup for us just because they're able to negate our on-play effects. Hopefully you can find Zoro in that matchup. Hopefully you can get an 8-cost Eustace Kib down, but even then, it's still going to be a rough matchup. The 9-cost Zoro does in fact make the Shanks matchup more valuable. I do have some Shanks gameplay on the way in another video as well. I got some good Shanks gameplay, and that's going to be a whole video on itself. If you like the content, consider hitting that subscribe button. If you made it this far, you're an absolute real one. And with that, I hope you have a very nice rest of your day. Peace. And did I already say, don't forget to subscribe?